All right, so we can move this along. Thank you, everybody, for waiting. We'll move forward with discussion items. Number 1, capital purchases.
So about 3 weeks ago, I provided to the board a reconciliation of our capital reserve, a quick summary of how this village annually budgets money. Many municipalities call it pay-as-you-go funding that is used for either large capital purchases and/or acquisitions for equipment and other needs, vehicles and other needs. Generally speaking, the department heads will come in and make a presentation about one item at a time. We've had discussions about this village creating and adopting a capital budget on an annual basis. What we're doing tonight is taking the initial requests or the primary requests of our DPW departments, which is inclusive of, our parks, our buildings maintenance, highway department, central garage, and our law enforcement police department, and they've put together their priority purchases. The total discussion tonight is about $508,000, 284 $500 from DPW, $223,500 from the police department. Just very quickly, as we said, there's $975,000 in this year's budget that has not been allocated anywhere yet. There's an available balance of $2,686,000 already from fiscal year ending May 31st, 2019. So there are a number of items that are encumbered, items that we've either established a capital project for or put money aside for as well. So the total amount of money in cap reserve is $5,448,644. And that's not taking into account, and I know a lot of people in the public sometimes confuse money that's in a capital reserve with fund balance. This has nothing to do with fund balance at all, which is the village's rainy day fund. The village has a very healthy fund balance of approximately $6 million of unappropriated fund balance. So I think the best thing to do is we'll start with Gary, and maybe he can describe some of the items and the needs that he was looking for. One of the things as he's walking up that I think is important is that we do have a lot of assets, and it's important that the village consider, a replacement plan so that we don't run certain pieces of equipment down to its last breath. A, we don't get as much for it as we go to sell it, and B, we end up in a situation where we're kind of behind the 8 ball and we're trying to catch up in purchasing some of these items. So with that in mind, I'll let Gary.
Okay, and just off of what you just said, we've tried in the past to do work schedules or replacement schedules 5, 7, 10 years, and they don't tend to work for us because most of our vehicles go well past 10 years before we replace them. So most of the time when a vehicle's coming up here to be replaced, it's because it's become unsafe. We've got a rotten frame, the brakes are failing, the floorboards are gone, or simply it's just too expensive to repair the vehicle and it doesn't make sense. So I've talked to a few different department heads. We had a list of about 6 or 7 items here. I'll just go through them one by one. The priority list we put together was, the first one was for the highway department. It was a bandit wood chipper. This is just used for our tree trimming crews. We have 2 at all times. One is used on a daily basis with the crews going around. And in the springtime, when we do a brush cleanup, we use both of them. And we go street by street and clean up all the residences' yards that they put out front. The last one we got was in 2012 when we had the hurricane, and we were just inundated with brush, and our chipper was just dying, so we replaced it then. So we're now asking you to replace not the one we bought then, but the previous one we bought in '99. All right, so the highway bandit chipper we're looking is to get rid of the 1999 bandit and buy a new one for $80,000. That would come off all of these would come off Sourcewell contracts, which would not ask us to go out to bid. They would just all be requirements contracts that we can buy off of. Do you want to ask questions? You just want me to run through them all?
You can run through them all, maybe we ask questions later.
All right, so number 2 would then be the Parks Department is asking for a Chevy 3500 4x4 dump with plow. It has a 2006 that we'd like to replace. Salt rod is basically what happened to this one. The frame is gone. The back of that truck is gone. It needs to be taken out of service. The cost of that is $75,000. Parks would use that just for moving materials, hauling brush, plowing snow, etc. Building maintenance is asking for 2 vehicles. Both would be Chevy 2500 4x4 utilities. These are the trucks you see with the compartments on them that allow them to carry tools, cleaning supplies, what have you. That would replace a 1996 Chevy, which is a double hand-me-down that came from police department, then went to central garage, and then came to building maintenance. And then we have another one that was actually sorry, that's 2001. The 1996 is an old utility truck that has just gone past its warranty date. Each one of those trucks would be $40,000. Then we go to number 5 is Central Garage. They're asking for a 1500, a little bit lighter duty, and they have a fire chief's car in '05 they want to replace. Same thing, it's just it's costing too much to keep the truck running, and they'd like to replace it with new. That one's a little bit less at $32,000. Then we get to number 6 is a highway planer. What we did in a previous budget is we bought a mini steamroller for the highway department, and what we were trying to do is go around, instead of shoveling patch into potholes, we're trying to go down, use a planer, take the hole down about 1.5 inches down, fill it in with hot patch, and then roll it over with a roller. So this planer is an attachment that would go onto an existing tractor that we have and complete that process. The one after that is the Parks Department is a mower. It's down here really to talk about, but that's something we wouldn't need to purchase until the spring. We have had discussion of buying that mower for $12,000. We're looking into battery mowers, which cost about twice that.
Good.
I was going to say the same thing.
Well, we were looking into the battery mowers, even though they were more expensive, because they're friendly. They're good for the employee. They're quiet. The ones we did demo didn't quite hold up. If we have tall grass, thick grass, wet grass, they can't really cut as well as the gas. We'll have to cut the lawns twice.
But the state has shifted over to going electric at all of their public parks. How are they doing that?
I don't know what they're using. The one that was demonstrated by the town and the one we demonstrated in Southampton Park certainly does the job, but the conditions have to be perfect.
Maybe they'll evolve by next summer.
And that's really the gist of it.
Gary, I don't mean, this isn't a trick question, but given that everyone's talking about carbon and zero carbon reduction, what are our plans to reducing carbon in our equipment in general?
We have no program put forward at this time. All our vehicles are all gasoline or diesel power, really to do their job. Right now, we haven't gone over to anything that I'm aware of. The only hybrids, I don't believe, are really feasible right now. Natural gas is an option, but we don't have a terminal for that, so we would have to enter into an IMA with somebody else who could sell us that.
So I can understand that an asphalt cold planer isn't mainstream, and you're probably not going to find an electric equipment with that, but what about the 4x4 pickup? What about getting something that uses corn fuel?
Well, I fully support this,
Okay, thank you.
just so you know.
I mean, the reason why is if this equipment lasts for the next 8 or 12 years, we're blowing carbon into the atmosphere for the next 8 or 12 years.
Okay.
So what could we do? It's a problem we all have. It's not on your shoulders to solve, but where are we looking to see if there's a different solution?
But we really have not. Right now, we're just using the standard ethanol, gas that, everybody's using that's on the street. As far as something that's, completely corn, I'm not sure what's available commercially that we could use. I've never looked into it.
Could we
We can
take a
look into it,
peek?
Yeah.
I will take it.
And I know it's not easy, but it just
Do you
seems
know
like,
of something?
I mean, I would look towards some of the other people that are already leagues ahead of us, and I can find those names for you. And I know no one's ever asked you, and I don't think we've even, as a village, contemplated it, but the town of Southampton has a zero carbon target for what, 2035 or 30?
Yeah, but
But are they using it?
but they have yet to find anything or use anything in their parks, garage, highway that is using, a biofuel or,
Well, that's what Gary just asked you. Are you aware
Right.
of something
Right.
that exists already? A vehicle?
I'm hearing
they
that
can use,
and
can push
readings,
snow.
but I'm not the expert. I would have to, help you look.
Yeah, I don't know if a vehicle is available or a fuel source right now. Is there a dispensary for it? I don't know.
But I think us not looking is not the way to go.
We have a public comment. Can we entertain that now? The question from the public?
It's not a question, I can just answer your question.
Renata,
I can
you come on
answer-
up, Tony, come on up, please. Thank you.
Just,
Sure.
I buy these trucks all the time, and a lot of my friends do. At this point, the only feasible electric would be for a pickup truck. The trucks that Gary's talking about are really heavy duty, and they have to work, and the technology isn't there yet in this country. And, as far as mowers and weed whackers and stuff like that, that technology is really coming along, and there are some good things out there. But the only electric fleet thing that you could get at this point would be a pickup truck. And, we're all waiting for it out here. So that
That's good
answers
to
your
know.
question. These other trucks are real workhorses, and
Thank you for saying that, because I was going to say, we
Yeah.
need a diesel. Nothing's to do to push the snow. And
Right.
No, that's
Right.
not, I can pretty much guess it doesn't
Yeah.
exist
And
yet.
ethanol is not the answer, because there's a lot of water that comes with ethanol, and it really decreases the life of the engine and the gas tanks and all that stuff. So it's a really complicated issue, but as a society, we need to address. But
Right.
right now, Gary doesn't have any options
Right.
to him except for pickup trucks. So I just wanted to.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for that insight. Neutral
Thank you,
insight.
Tony. You
Neutral.
just gave him
There
a...
you go. All right, so Gary, carry
So I'd
on.
like to make a motion.
But Gary, can I ask you this other question, not to put you on the spot here, but are we thinking about solar panels? We've got all these buildings. We don't have solar panels here,
Love to have
and
them here.
you've mentioned that to me.
More on the DPW.
And I
Yes,
don't
we-
see that on here or any EV charging
But
stations.
our DPW is
DPW is filled
100%
with them.
solar.
Right. And we sell that electric back, which I'm still trying to find out from
Net meter.
Mr. Cradaville what that dollar amount is that we save.
I would love to do it. We have a good roof here for it, and I have asked Jen Messiano to reach out about it. She said there's less and less money available for it, but she would look into opportunities. So I think we're going to be meeting with her in a couple weeks, and we can bring that up. But I'm all for solar.
I know it was your idea, I'm just throwing it back at you.
I think it's the only building we don't have it. EV has
Yeah.
it. Every other building.
So do all our buildings have solar?
No,
Except for this one?
DPW does.
yeah, the DPW yard has the most, but the police station has, I believe, 13K system there.
What about Veterans Hall?
No, slate roof is a little difficult there.
And I think that's it too, the structure of some of the buildings getting it on.
We
It
can still do it.
allow it in.
So
Okay.
I think
Gary,
they're
what's
also-
Makes sense.
What's this 1,500 4x4 pickup?
That's Central Garage. So Central Garage doesn't need as much heavy duty. What happens is we buy new trucks generally for the supervisors, and as they use them for a year or two, then they get handed down, because when they become workhorses, they get a little more dirty. So in the Central Garage, the supervisor will get a 1,500 pickup to start with, and since they're not hauling things, they're really just hauling parts, or supplies for fixing vehicles, we give them a lighter duty truck than the other ones. So basically, the supervisor will have that truck just a few years, and then it'll get worked down. This is like Kenny Zay will have it to basically respond to calls, to come to Village Hall, to do paperwork, etc. After he's had it for a while, it'll get handed to his mechanics, who will then use it for service calls after that.
Can this be electric?
It could, but when it comes time to hand it down, we would have to get rid of it and then buy a truck to hand down.
What do you think?
I think we have to lead by example,
Okay.
but it depends on what you think the pro and con would be from your point and your team's point.
We could look into it. I really don't have any information on them, so I don't know what's out there. I mean, Tony's kind of told me a little more than I know. So we could explore and see who's making them.
Tesla's coming out with one in 2 months. I just found that out.
I
today
need
on
a
those
new
walls.
truck.
Is it 2 months?
Yes.
Okay, because we're all waiting.
But I was told today by a Tesla owner.
Tesla truck?
Yes.
It is the Hamptons, baby. Let's go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be a
I'm
great
sure, I guarantee that won't go over well at some stage.
Absolutely.
How would that look?
I mean, at the end of the day, there is, I mean, as Gray's, this all is, remember, we do have a fiduciary responsibility to also do the budgetary and the line.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of times, as great as new stuff is, and all that, from my experience, whenever something like it hasn't happened, it's just because, I'm going to say an arbitrary number, it went from being a $30,000 item to a $60,000 or $70,000 item. And then somebody from that chair came up and said, "Are you crazy?" And so just so you know, that's usually
Maybe we can reach out to Tesla and maybe they'll give us a discount or something. I mean,
Go-
just to
I was
set
saying,
the,
go for it.
I mean, set the, because I don't know how many
What's gas
municipalities
will we
have electric, so
Think about it.
maybe they want it as a PR
There you go.
So
opportunity.
it's about the gas side, so now with gas.
Retooling down to, exactly.
Kenny can be a model.
Kenny is more adaptable than you might know.
I do not doubt that, but I think that's pretty ironic that of all people that are going to be the poster child for advancing.
I think it's wonderful.
Kim, that's your department.
I think it's
Yes,
great.
I know.
Good job.
He'll love you. He'll love you
I'm
for
the
that.
like it.
commissioner of Central Garage. If
There
anybody
you go.
doesn't know, that is my commission.
That is
And you are, there you go.
I won't tell you
You're
the
getting
things
Kenny.
that I approve,
You're
but
getting Kenny.
they have interesting
Well, now
things.
you're getting Kenny a Tesla
A
pickup truck.
Tesla pickup truck.
How cool is that?
Right?
Thank you.
We have to ask these questions. Sorry.
Chief, you're up next for electric, so.
Well, we can look into it. We can see what they cost, what size they are, what power, and
So
do a
we can do the
comparison.
rest and maybe hold off on the truck right now? Is that kind of?
Tony, would a flex fuel be any
We can.
significance?
Because
Like these flex fuel?
other stuff.
I mean, he's in a vehicle right now, so he's okay. It's just we're trying to retire one.
Okay. So I think we can task the commissioner over here with the new Tesla and price it out. And tell Kenny that, it's not the worst thing in the world by waiting, because he may get,
It's really fast.
But I think is everybody okay with moving with the other items that
Well,
I think you?
the alternative is these other items, 10 to 12 years of the old way of blowing carbon in the air.
we don't
That's
have
the
any
thing.
we don't have any alternative.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying.
But we purchase vehicles annually, so our goal is as soon as the technology is there, that's the year we start to buy.
Exactly. It's like a
But we
replacement.
need to be aggressively looking.
We are. We just did.
Well,
And Tony just
Yeah,
said
we
it's
are.
not there yet.
It's not there.
You're a specialist.
Central Garage.
His guy just came up and
Don't
said.
know if that, Jesse was thinking ahead, trust me.
No, definitely. But I think that's what we'll do. Going forward, every supervisor gets a Tesla. And the bigger trucks, the bigger apparatus will adjust as technology.
Doesn't have to be a
as
truck.
it allows.
Why do they need a truck?
Well, that's true, too.
If they're running back and forth to Village Hall.
I really like this guy.
Absolutely
He
right.
needs to be on
A
the
Prius, though.
Absolutely
infrastructure
right.
committee.
And
You're
why
not
are
setting me up, are you?
Your vehicle,
Tony, come on up, please. Come on up.
the vehicle
Especially with good
shouldn't
information.
be addressed this way. A vehicle should be purchased with a definite expiration date, so you have a budget that you can manage and you know what's coming down the line.
Well, we
So-
do. And he did say that. We do have replacement things, but what Gary did point out is we do take care of them very well, and they go beyond. So we just don't get rid of them. We let them go a little further, if they still are able to.
They go beyond with maintenance, though, right? Like you.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah,
And then
so-
when it's decided from the central garage that it's no longer cost effective, that's when now this.
Okay.
So there is a replacement, and he pointed out, I'm glad he did in the beginning, because there is, for all our departments, there are replacement projections and based on, warranties and all those things and studies. But we do have a good central garage. We do have people that respect the equipment. And thankfully, on behalf, for the taxpayers' sake, these apparatus and equipment go longer than we actually project.
Okay.
So,
But I think Tony's asking, is there an activity-based need for a truck, right? That's your question.
Well,
No, that's not what
you
he
just
asked, but
made
it
it
is-
sound like it's
that's
like
what I
a
thought he was asking,
runaround
too.
vehicle, basically, that then gets handed down to crews.
so we give Kenny a convertible.
Well, or an electric car.
Oh, electric,
That's
yeah,
used, and it doesn't, why does it have to be a
No,
hand-me-down?
but
That
yeah.
is just the car that's used for that purpose, and
Well, if you think
But there is a
building
certain need for
department,
a
building
pickup
department would be a perfect place for an electric vehicle, because
Yeah.
they do as
Exactly.
they go around.
By the way,
East
Trustee
Hampton's
Allen,
on our heels.
we should have a central garage have electric charging stations.
That's right here on the list, electric
Sure
charging
it is.
stations.
I'm sure it's on your list.
But Gary already knows that, because if you looked at that email, we added that list to our meeting on the 11th.
Good.
Part of it is, I think we're going to get some grant money because it's at the county level right now. I think they're trying to disperse electric vehicle charging stations throughout eastern Long Island. So that's something we have to research. We have a lot of research ahead of us in the next 2-3 weeks.
We've looked
have
at
all
those
the time.
through the years, and then we just keep trying to stress that you don't want to put them right behind Village Hall or something. You want to put them out in that public parking lot where you can take several spots, or the train station or the bus station or somewhere where you have a lot of spaces. So you're not just taking away spaces for hours at a time.
It's a really good point,
Kenny
Gary.
will have to go up to the pizza place and to.
So let's get this going. So Gary,
It's got solar.
what are we doing?
We're
The,
approving Gary.
The other equipment minus the 1,500 for right now, is that?
Well, that would be wonderful, and in the meantime, we will start exploring, alternate fuels and electric.
And the electric mower, if it's capable.
Correct.
I know you looked at it last year. And
Yeah,
And we have
We just drove it, we were there.
That's
yeah.
not even on the
We have
list.
time to talk about that one. I mean, the one it's going to replace, the season is just about over for another month or so. I know which way our park supervisor would like to go, but we can discuss it. Okay. All right.
All right,
So
so
then we okay with giving Gary the go-ahead on this portion minus the 1,500
Yes.
central garage?
Yes.
make the motion.
Commissioner?
Can we do the police
I
department?
think we do it all in one shot first.
And I'm going to write out the
Gary's
warrant.
half
Can we
is-
do it in two parts? I'm on a roll, Russ.
All right, now you can sit down, though. Your role worked.
So Gary, if you could look into it, and you can let us know what help you need as far as electric charging stations. It's something that we've discussed and we would like. So whether it's at the train station on Nugent Street, I mean, this is something that we need to we'd love to push forward.
Okay.
Lynn Arthur in the town is on the Sustainability Committee, and she knows everything under the sun about that. So I can connect you to her. Maybe the three of us can talk.
I know we've had some things in our mayor's files here that have had it in credit card systems and everything you can use on them. And our take was just more the location of where to put them so they get used, but they don't block short-term parking.
I think you're absolutely right.
Thank you, Gary. Chief Cummings?
All right, Chief, you're up.
Chief, before we start, I have a question for you. This weekend is the Hamptons Marathon. We all set for that. We probably should let the public know that there are going to be a lot of people running around.
Right, it's the third or the fourth year we've done it. It's the Saturday, the 28th. The course starts and ends at Leland Lane at the school. There'll be, as temporary as possible, road closures over by the hospital. The rest of the roads will be open, but there's going to be up to 3,000 people running through the village till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's about the entire police department and probably about 30 state troopers will be helping us, so you'll see a cop on nearly every corner.
We're
And,
not as aggressively shutting down roads as we did in the beginning.
No, we just have to do it with a large, like, when they start the marathon, or there's a marathon, a full marathon, which is a Boston Marathon qualifier. It's a half marathon, and then there's a 5K. So when the large groups at the start go off, and there's 2,000 people running down Old Town Road, we're obviously shutting Old Town Road. But they will pass through Old Town Road in 5 to 10 minutes, so then we reopen it. And pretty much when it's that large group that runs over by the hospital at the start of the race, we keep that shut down till it pretty much passes through, and we direct traffic at the other intersections to get the runners past them, but for the most part, we don't close the roads. The command post for the race is over in the road at the extension of Meeting House Lane, so you really, like, there's some doctor's offices in there. We're going to have it barricaded, but if you have an appointment, come to the cop at the barricade, and he'll let you in. But we're not just looking to have people drive into that complex if they don't need to. The race starts at 8, so expect the roads to close just prior to the race. And it's done. Like, we finished. We don't support, and the organizers don't support the race after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think the guy that won was like 2.5, or maybe less than 2.5 hours last year. And he didn't look too tired when he finished, which was pretty remarkable to all of us. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so, like I said, it's a Boston Marathon qualifier. There's some very good runners that come down. And, it's interesting. When we planned it for the first time a few years ago, there's a lot to, we went and talked to NYPD, and they do quite an extensive thing that we don't need to do, fortunately. All right, I spoke to you all briefly at the last meeting about the things that we are looking for the police department. A little history, the police building, we were in this building on the second, well, not always on the second and third floor, but we occupied this building from 1911 to 2001, when we moved into our headquarters now. Some of the things that I'm going to ask for, the first thing I'm going to ask for is an original to that building from 2001. It's a battery backup. So basically what happens is we have a generator, a large generator, but in the period between when the power goes out and the generator kicks in, shouldn't be a lapse in the power. Because in the good old days, if you had a radio, the minute the power came back on, the radio came back on. Now everything's run by a computer. So we lose the 911 system, we lose the radio system and the phone system when the power goes out. So even if the generator kicks on in 30 seconds, it's 3 to 5 minutes for all our systems to boot back up. We have this battery backup that's original to the building. It doesn't work anymore. We've had it, done what we could with it in terms of trying to maintain it and replace the batteries. So I would like to replace it. There are 3 options for us. One would be getting a system that's roughly $30,000 that is really at maximum capacity now. If you look at the difference in technology from when we moved in the building in 2001 to now, I don't think it would be smart to use the most basic version. There's a middle version that's roughly $40,000, which is what I'm asking for, which is expandable, which I think is a good idea. As things change, we can adjust up if we need to and not if we don't. And the top-of-the-line system, which ours could be built up to, is roughly $85,000, and I think that's a little bit beyond what we need right now. So this power system, really, we only got one company that was interested in doing it. And when I got the price, it was $38,000. I think that was last year. We're waiting for the updated price, but I can't imagine it'll be a whole lot more than 40. I don't think the price of batteries has gone up significantly. So I would appreciate if we could do that. I think it's really important for life safety for the village, because we're dispatching the police department, the fire department, our ambulance, the Bridgehampton Fire Department and ambulance, and the North Sea Fire Department. So when the radio system goes down, there's no communications with any of those organizations, and you don't know that it won't happen in the middle of some emergency. So I'd appreciate that. The next thing is we have a continuity of operations plan. We've been accredited by New York State through the law enforcement accreditation program since 1993. We're the first village on Long Island to get accredited, and a requirement of accreditation is to have a continuity of operations plan, which we have. But we haven't done any of the physical purchases to implement that plan. This would be the first one. Basically, it is our radio system for all those organizations that we speak to on the radio. We would have a off-site system where we could just turn it on, and if we had to abandon our building because of some catastrophe, we'd be able to boot up that radio system and continue to operate from another location. We have to figure out ideally where the best location is. We have some ideas in mind, but this is the radio system. And basically, like I said, it's a PC with antennas and technology, and a dispatcher would have a laptop, and they would open the laptop and be able to talk on the radio when we booted up the other system. So, hopefully, we never come to that, but we have to be prepared if we do. The infrastructure part of it's the $63,600, and the laptop it's mostly software costs is the nearly $15,000. Beyond that, just like Gary has, we have police cars. The mainline police cars that we have operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They not only put mileage on them, but they put hours on them. We have secondary use vehicles that we keep long after they would normally be sold, but take care of them. The village takes care of them. So what I'm mainly asking for here is a Traverse, which wouldn't be a mainline car. It would be for one of the lieutenants. The lieutenant is driving a patrol car, which is very expensive. Believe it or not, they're actually almost $20,000 more than this when you fully outfit them. So we'd like the patrol car to go back to patrol and have this car, which I think will be slightly less than the $51,000, but just for safety's sake, we're budgeting that. And the marked police Tahoe is going to be a patrol car. We have the utilities, the Ford utilities that you see, and we have Tahoes. The Tahoes have held up better mechanically, so I think we're going to start moving, and they're pretty equivalent price-wise. So I think we're going to start moving towards the Tahoes, plus they're four-wheel drive as opposed to all-wheel drive, and you can shift them back and forth from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive. Just to answer the question that I might get next about the hybrids, I don't have any problems with hybrids. I actually own one. It has 240,000 miles on it. Not ready for the police department yet, at least not for patrol cars. And if we get in a police car accident, the battery is very toxic, so could hurt the police officer. So regular people drive like regular people, but we drive them kind of at the edge of their capacity. So I don't think a hybrid is where we want to be right now. I mean, I'm sure it'll come at some point. I don't think we're there yet. Any questions?
Board? Any questions?
Police chief, police commissioner, and chief assistant.
My only question, and I believe you might have already answered this, but how do these numbers compare with the budget versus actual versus plan?
Well, I put in for all these.
All these, so it's all covered.
It's all pre-budgeted,
okay,
yeah.
Great.
The only thing that, and we'll talk more about it, that I wanted to bring up that'll probably wind up in the next meeting, hopefully we can talk about it, is, as you all may know, the laws, in terms of criminal justice, was changed, and they're going to take effect January 1st. There's bail reform, discovery reform, where what discovery is when you get arrested, you're entitled to all the evidence for and against you, and the district attorney, and that's kind of a much more drawn-out process at the moment. It's going to be, you're going to have everything that the people tend to use against you in court within 15 days of your arrest. So that's going to cause us to do things much more quickly. So there's some, we've had meetings with the district attorney's office where all the police departments are grappling with some ideas on how to do that. There's a software program that we found, and I think the DA's office is going to use it as well, that we'd like to go with. We've already got a price. It's a Motorola program. And we can just sign the contract and we wouldn't have to pay for it until next budget. And they've given us a pretty significant discount. On top of that, our records management systems, all the data that we have, that we've collected on any interaction, every police report we've written, the blotter, you name it, is in our records management system. We're going to change records management systems probably about now, next year. The county is giving it to us. They got a grant. We're going to get it for free. It's probably, I don't know what the price would be, but it would be significant. At this point, it would probably be the appropriate time to change our, computer-aided dispatch. When you call the police department and there's a dispatcher, he's typing your information into a computer system and sending that both digitally and over the radio to our officers out in the street. The system we have now is roughly, it's a 20-year-old program. We pay maintenance on it, but this would be the appropriate time to, it's really not great. And this would be the time to make a move. Motorola, it's also a Motorola, it's called Spillman FlexCAD. They've pretty much given us a very significant discount because we have all the other technology things that the police department has done over the last 5 years. Even when they weren't originally Motorola has purchased those companies. So we have kind of become a completely Motorola organization. And they like that, and they kind of want to make us an example for other customers, so they're giving us a significant discount if we go forward. And we didn't do it for that. That's not why we picked them. We picked them because we think they work the best for us. But getting a deal is not a bad thing either. So I'm not asking you to approve that tonight. I just wanted to preface going forward, because this all the bail reforms, the discovery reforms all take place January 1st, and we got to be everything up and running and in place. Like I said, the Motorola, the CAD build is like a 9 to 12 month thing for them to integrate the software with what we're going to be doing with this other program, which is called Niche. And so we kind of got to get out in front of that too if we're going to do it. So we don't have to decide on that tonight. Let's just give you a little preview of it. I'd like to talk to you about it at the next meeting.
What happened to the drone replacement? Is that not too small?
We don't want to use the DJI. That was for a DJI drone. We want to do that Skydio, which
Right.
hasn't come out yet.
The two cars that are there, they're replacing two cars that are being taken off, or
Got rid of 3 cars.
got rid of 3 cars. So we're
Downsizing.
downsizing.
I do want to give full disclosure. The chief said that they were all budget items. They were all asks. The capital request, right? The capital requests from all departments for this budget year was about $1,075,000, which is about $100,000 above what is in the budget allocation. But we actually have available from the prior year $2.6 million in capital reserves. They're not asking for all of that tonight, but I just want the board to understand that department heads, the chief, they ask for things in their budget. When it comes to capital, it doesn't necessarily mean that it all happens, because you don't adopt a capital budget. So it was all in the ask. You can't necessarily say, that it was
It's not
budget.
approved
That it's
necessarily.
budget.
Was not approved necessarily. So that's an important distinction.
Moving forward, it makes sense to adopt a capital budget? Or is that,
It not only makes sense, it is one of the only blemishes that we had in our AAA rating, was that they complimented the village on setting aside pay-as-you-go money every year. That's a very, very strong thing to do. So you're not necessarily just borrowing every time you need to get cars or those types of assets. But they highly recommend doing a capital budget as part of your budget adoption as well. And now you can always modify it. It doesn't. The purchases still have to be done by a village board resolution, and you can always modify it as the year or the needs go on. But it is highly recommended.
okay, we'd love your help in that moving forward, but I think that'd be a great thing to do for the following year. The only other question I have is, how do we finance vehicles, for example? Do we just pay out of pocket? Do we pay a loan? What?
It depends on, at the time, like when I first made chief, they like to lease,
Yeah.
but things have changed and now we purchase. It's on a state contract.
Are we allowed to get a loan, or do we just pay right out of a capital budget, or how do we?
We pay as you go, so we pay no interest, no, we pay cash.
Would it make sense?
I don't think so, because essentially, we put $1 million, just under $1 million a year into this account to do these types of purchases. So all you'd be doing is, if we didn't spend it down, is we would just be building up our capital reserve money and then paying down debt service, which I don't.
And I think you'd be, that's a great question, because that has, I remember those discussions as back in the day you did, but I think, then what you have is debt service on severely depreciating vehicles, because again, the police.
Like, we'll buy a police car for $70,000, and by the time we're done with it, it's worth $3,000 or $4,000.
What about the lease to purchase comparison?
Uh,
The problem with the lease is the mileage limit and the damage.
I also think the problem with leases, and I would defer to our attorney, leasing is prohibited except for very, very stringent examples, which I can't remember offhand, but definitely a vehicle would not fall under a permitted lease. Postage meters, things like that, where you don't actually ever take possession of the equipment. Those are the types of things where you have leases, but we're not permitted
The
to
one time
lease.
we did lease a vehicle, it didn't work out.
And the, where was I going on that question?
I mean, I do think, I know that there have been discussions about borrowing right now is, inexpensive to do, especially with the rating we have. I've heard some other discussions tonight of some things that, could cost $1 million, $1.5 million, those types of things. I think those are the things that we ought to, as we progress and move forward, that, we ought to, put out for a bond for that.
And this is all part of shared services where it can be already. You had mentioned that at the last meeting.
Yes, yeah, so essentially,
Everything but my battery backup is on state contract price, so I don't have to do a bid. I just buy it from the state contract vendor. The battery backup, we'll look for more prices, but the only one we could get. It's the same company that built the one that we have now. They seem to be a specialist at this, and I had, not only myself, but I had a company that does, Alliance, that does some of our camera systems, look for me to see if they could find a competitive alternative, and they couldn't.
Chances are it'd be pretty close to it, and that's a.
I mean, sometimes I'm not going to try and say it. In an industry,
Yeah,
Niche
there is like a
correct, yes.
one brand kind
Right.
of.
No, you're right. A lot of stuff we do, everything we purchase on a state bid, pre-negotiated already for state pricing, one-stop shopping, if you will. But you're right, every now and then, an item comes up that.
I don't think there's a whole lot. I mean, I'm sure they're putting them into buildings regularly, but if you had to pay $40,000 to make sure your lights didn't go off for 2 minutes, rather than just put in a generator system, although I think Tesla has a pretty good
Yeah.
battery backup for your house that'll keep the power on for like 8 hours.
Not to mention, we can't afford a 3 to 5 minute lapse.
No, because like I said, all the systems go down and have to boot back up.
Exactly, so that's not even worth debating over.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, should we move forward with the resolution?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Entertain a motion to authorize capital purchases in an amount of $476,000 from capital reserve major equipment, $97,500 from highway, $75,000 from parks, $80,000 from other, and $223,500 from police, subject to permissive referendum. For a second.
Second.
Trustee Allen.
Aye.
Trustee Yastrzemski.
Aye.
Mayor Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Parish.
Aye.
Trustee Polaro.
All right.
Just for clarification, that excludes the central garage Chevy 15.
Yes, it does.
476, yeah, he adjusted the number on it to reflect
Yeah.
that. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for
Thank
breaking
you very
that
much,
down
Gary. Thank
for
you,
the
Chief
board
Cummings.
and the public.
All right, the next discussion item is number 2, parking regulation, additional parking at Railroad Plaza.
Gary.
Mr. Gillespie.
Yeah, we were busy tonight.
Okay, so we completed a drainage project at Railroad Plaza. I hope you've all been by there and looked at it. We've had a lot of big rainstorms, and the new drainage has taken all of it. Bonus on top of that is we've created 16 parking spaces in front of that.
Good.
Yeah, so what we've done is, in the area of the school, we wanted to be kind to them and do some 2-hour parking. And as we got further closer to the railroad station, we wanted to consider 18-hour parking for commuters. So I did speak to Wayne, or email with Wayne a couple times, trying to get the proper code here. And yeah, it's my little drawing up there. So you can see we have, alongside the school on the Railroad Plaza, we have 3 parallel spots and we have 13 diagonals. And that little dotted line is just showing me what we have now signed, 2-hour and 18-hour. So I'm trying to get some sort of regulation or restriction put in so that all those signs will be legal. And I don't know if, Wayne, you want to discuss this further?
Sure. So the current regulations, first of all, Railroad Plaza, everybody knows where the parking areas are, but the other portions, what we consider the street, is actually not a public street. It is all property of the MTA, which is the village has a lease with. And we are charged with the maintenance of that area and actually have the right to regulate the parking and the like. As such, under our Vehicles and Traffic Code, Railroad Plaza is designated as a public parking lot, and we regulate the parking there pursuant to that section of the code. And right now, it is designated as limited parking, 2 hours, except designated spaces on the south side of the curbing south of the Long Island Railroad ticket office, which is 18 hours. Maybe Gary can point that out on his diagram. And then also designated spaces along the south boundary between Elm Street and Maple Street, which is unlimited. And that's a reflection, I think, 2 parts. One is the history of parking there at the Railroad Plaza. You have some parties who park and commute, and that was, I believe, the intent behind the 18-hour limitation. And then you have some that maybe park and commute and stay for, the parking is there for a week, and they come back the next weekend. We've had comments and discussions over the last couple of years that I'm aware of about re-examining all the parking there, particularly related to how commuting and everything else. So with respect to what Gary's proposing, this is an area that was never designated parking, and only because of the current improvements were we able to achieve that parking, and providing additional parking is needed during the summer months there. So Gary's recognized currently 2-hour, what would be under the code, the entire area would be 2-hour parking. But what Gary's trying to do is provide 2-hour parking and additional 18-hour parking. So technically, to follow that up would be a code amendment, but the question is this something the board wants to do? Certainly, the signage is there already, and I think the point is technically that's 2-hour parking, but we're allowing longer parking over the portion that Gary's proposing. So two questions. If you just want to move forward with what Gary is proposing, we can draft a law that will recognize that. But second part of this is maybe, just to go back to where we had comments, is re-examine the entire parking area and determine if there's any changes throughout the parking area and do it all in one point.
Didn't we enact a change to the parking to not allow commercial vehicles
In all public
in
parking.
all public parking lots?
we did,
Because we had
correct.
had an issue in particular here,
There in Mariner Drive.
and
So,
where they would come and
Right.
just commandeer all the spots
So we did that.
24/7.
Do we
Yes.
have limitations, because it is MTA property?
The MTA, the only limitations is the MTA reserve the right for certain parking spaces. I think it's 3 in particular, and they designate where those are. And if you recall, we had a problem
Those are
with towing
those ones
once,
we towed
The MTA,
towed
which-
on the on
which
4th of
we
July.
quickly resolved.
Yes, we did.
With the MTA.
They let
But
us know. They were very
Beyond
dissatisfied.
that, obviously, if we're going to change the parking regulations and we want to put signage or recognize the MTA, we should reach out to them and include them in that discussion. But I think right now, there's the areas that are designated. Gary, maybe you can point out where the 18 and where it's unlimited?
I mean, but for the short of it, we can at least authorize what he did with the new parking striping.
That's already done.
I kind of went through it before, but in the new area here that we're talking, where we've added these 16 spaces on the south side of Railroad Plaza, the first 3 parallels would be 2, and the first 2 diagonals would be 2. And we felt that would be good just for school use of 2-hour. Of course, the school could use any of these spots, but as we move further to the east, we upped it to 18-hour parking, thinking of computers at the railroad station needing longer parking. The existing parking at the station and the parking lot along the street is 2-hour. On the opposite side of the island is 18-hour. And then on the back side of the parking lot is all unlimited parking.
What is it along the tracks? The parking spaces in front of the
Unlimited.
tracks?
Is it unlimited as well? I'm not
Pretty
sure.
Because that police car and those 2 other have been sitting there for how long, Julie?
Yeah, but they're not.
Years.
I mean, the way it reads is designated spaces on the south side of the curbing, south of the ticket office, 18 hours. And then the designated spaces south of the boundary between along the south boundary between Elm Street and Maple Street, unlimited.
But it doesn't specify the spots
On the street.
right along.
Well, arguably, it's 2 hours except for those spots, so it should be 2-hour parking unless it's posted to say either unlimited or 18.
I think we even called it in because we had complaints, and it ended up being unlimited. Remember that person
I think
called
it's
us?
because
Do you recall that, Chief? Chief, do you recall what the parking is?
Along the tracks, it's unlimited.
All along the tracks is all unlimited, on both
Yep.
sides of the ticket booth station.
Just on the track side.
The tracks, but I'm saying, but on the east, you have the ticket booth, whatever, the brick building, so on both east and west side of that, it's unlimited?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, the thing about the code, it just says designated spaces south side of curbing, south of the Long Island Railroad ticket office. And so I guess the interpretation has been that entire stretch. But it could be less, but this is, but the point, though, is what does the board want to see here? And if we're going to amend the code, let's do it all at once, make it very clear where you want 2-hour, where you want unlimited, where you want 18, so it can be clearly posted and marked.
You have any input on that, Chief? What you'd like to see as an issue in enforcement? Any input you have? You don't mind?
In my 33 years, there used to, in the winter, be hardly any cars there. That's not the case anymore. I'd like to see, and I don't know the exact specific spots, but there should be, the time should be as limited as possible. That would make that situation still workable for people that are going to use the train. Because you have, like that wasn't a police, it was, I mean, I guess it was at some point a police car, it was a taxi that was there for months.
Right.
And we couldn't do anything about it. As long as it was registered and had an inspection sticker, we couldn't do anything to it. And that guy took that spot up for I don't think there should be unlimited parking, but that's just
Do you think
my...
it should be any unlimited? Like, because there are some longer-term commutes, as pointed out.
I'm not sure if it's a possibility. I mean, Wayne could look into it. Maybe if you want to do some permitted unlimited parking, but just dropping your car there and walking away, I don't think should be, I mean, it's not ideal for anybody.
Turns into a mini junkyard,
Yeah, which
that
it
little
has.
section.
And a for sale sign, I mean, it's turned into a used car lot.
Yeah, and that is actually, when we started talking about this new 18-hour parking, was not to do any unlimited, because the chief has to deal with it more than I do, but we can only go in there and clean that parking lot at 4th of July, because those cars don't move. Some of those cars are there for months.
So this goes back to identifying what our commuters need. And I know that was some of the complaints that you had before, is that there's some of the unlimited parking is long-term parking. The town, I know, and the, Bridgehampton or Spionk or Hampton Bays have actually, you can get permits for certain parking, as the chief indicated, where if you're going to do long-term parking, you got to actually go and get a permit from the town to do that in certain areas, parking, certain municipal parking
So
lots.
let's convert the unlimited to 18-hour to make that consistent. So there is some type of limit on it.
Well, the question comes that there is a certain part of the population that may want to, they leave their car and come back the next weekend, and I think that was the recognition. I'm just trying to go back as what was the mindset there, but, obviously times have changed. Like the chief said, it used to be empty during the winter, but now it's full,
Right.
to the
Certainly-
point where
certainly-
some residents can't park.
Certainly spots along the tracks do not need to be unlimited. Maybe a portion in the parking lot, but I don't think along the track side, that's for should be for quick pickup and go, not for depositing your vehicle.
The other thing, too, is we are adding 11 new 18-hour spots. So we could almost do it as a test and just see how it goes and see how we fill up. If you want to table this, the signs aren't enforceable, but they are there.
Well, you put the signs up, so at best, your 18-hour signs are less restrictive than the code. I suspect right now during the winter, we're not going to have that issue, but certainly my suggestion is, before I draft an amendment, is make sure we have some guidance as to how we want to, if we want to change anything else in the parking lot, let's do it all at once with one public hearing.
That's right, I required a public hearing.
Yeah, this would be an amendment to the statute.
We have residents and non-residents who come to that station, which is what we discovered in our last discussion, and use it as a commuter base. And some, to your point, Wayne, go into to this other place for a day, and some go on a Monday and come back on a Thursday or Friday. That's what we heard.
Right.
But residents of the village, their primary complaint was, I'm a resident of the village, I pay taxes, and when I go to the train station, I don't have a spot. That's the number one issue we heard.
But I just want to, don't shoot me, but I wondered if we could have ordinance run through there and chalk some tires once or twice and see how many of those cars are staying put and how many are leaving.
That was the point I was going to make. 18-hour parking is very difficult for us to enforce because it's 2 shifts after the guy chalked it. So the guy who would write the ticket doesn't have personal knowledge that the car was chalked. Now, there's this parking system we're looking at, because there's another court decision saying chalking someone's tire is unconstitutional. It's only in one district in America that it applies right now, but it may visit us. So it's a GPS-oriented system, which that would work, but we don't have that yet. So 18 hours is tough. I mean, we have to have either a 24-hour parking or a shorter-term parking. I don't think 18, well, 18, you can do what you want, but 18 doesn't work well for us enforcement-wise.
All right, but even if you left it at 18 and I chalked it today and I came back 24
It'd have
hours
to be
later,
the same person,
would have to be the same person.
and we probably have to have video to prove the car didn't move, and as unlikely as it is, be in the same exact orientation.
Prove it.
Could this be a good opportunity to finally get a machine or something like that where you can actually time cars? Especially in this location?
That's,
Well, I mean, we had a presentation from, as you all know, we have these LPRs, license plate reader
Right.
spots. The same company does a parking solution, which is not really unreasonably priced. we got a presentation on it, but in my list of things to do, that wasn't, it's something to talk about over the winter, but, when we got the presentation in July, we were kind of busy with other things. So that would work. It has nothing's perfect, but it works well because a police car could pass through with the plate reader, and it would timestamp when they passed that plate in that spot with a picture. And if they came back around, as opposed to just a chalk stripe, which you really can't say is with any definitive proof that that was the chalk stripe that, say, Angel Perez put on that car at 10 o'clock in the morning, when Angel Perez isn't the one writing the ticket. It would be better, but you could also have some, I think for me, the train station, I think, needs to just be looked at. Like, we looked at that whole neighborhood when I first made chief, and I don't think we're done with it. I think more work has to be done there.
Topic of conversation multiple times.
Just back to the chalking one more time. The idea I was thinking of is if we go there and we have a fairly full lot and we chalk all the tires and we come back another day, we can just see how many cars have moved just for
I see
discussion.
where you're going with it, yeah. That is a trend. Yeah, study purposes. So, yeah, sunshine out there with a marker, chalk up.
All right. Thank you, Gary. So
To be continued?
So my suggestion is I'll work with Gary and the chief, and if we can come back with a plan, a nice diagram, and at least tell the board, here's what it is, and maybe a recommendation, and if that would be good to the board, we'll propose an amendment that you can put out to a public hearing and get input on it.
And those southern spots that are unlimited in the MTA portion of the parking lot,
The whole thing is MTA, but
not within the,
I'm telling you.
behind the
Everything's
island.
MTA, even though, yeah.
No, no,
The
no.
whole
Even though we
thing
just-
is
yes.
MTA.
Everything we just created is MTA as well.
It's all MTA property.
But behind the island, that's MTA too? I thought you had mentioned before that wasn't.
No.
That was only
No,
ours.
the whole thing is,
The whole thing's MTA.
Okay.
We just maintain it.
We have a lease.
I got it.
Lease
Okay.
it.
I think that's the plan if we're okay with it.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Gary.
Before you go,
Thank you,
Gary,
Chief.
The notes that were being passed back and forth was that there was a request for a new podium and sign, and before you purchase any vehicles, they'd like to see that accomplished.
An
New
electric
people
one?
want to see, I've been looking at it for 10 years, but new people want to see a sign that fits
Right.
proportionally on that podium.
But
It
funny
bothers them.
thing is, John Cause built this thing years ago when he was the carpenter.
Right.
But at the time we were building it, we weren't told there was going to be a seal put on it. So they got the whole thing done after several days, brought it over here, and the first thing the clerk did was put a seal on it, wrapped it around the edges.
See, this is like a project from your kid. It's like a woodshop project.
Customs.
It all goes back to leadership.
Sentimental value in that.
Maybe we just give it to the History Museum.
Build little wings on it and then put the seal.
Or you could put a new seal on it. How about
I
that?
could get a smaller seal.
Right.
A smaller seal.
All right.
All right, thank you, Gary.
All right. So the next, thank you, Gary. Thank you, Chief.
It's historical significance.
Next discussion item is the Business Task Force Committee. The question is, Trustee Allen, would you like to present this, or Russell, would you like to take it?
Well, I'll start by saying that at the request of Trustee Allen, I did put together an outline similar to the rules that were established on the other committees that we have established, which would be the Lake Agawam Water Quality Committee, the Budget and Finance Committee et al. And Trustee Allen had requested that I put together this outline, and I think she would like to discuss what kind of the mission and what she's looking to accomplish and type of folks that we'd like to have on the committee.
Thank you. I had notes that I put together that I can't find, so I'll have to do it by memory. But I appreciate that introduction. I think that we're at a nexus in our village with regards to a lot of activity underway, being the beginning of a parking lot, looking at pedestrian and bicyclist infrastructure, revitalizing it, as the mayor and the trustees here all wish to have. And in doing so, I think it's only fitting that we bring together the individuals that are very close to this and have ideas and expertise around it. And in that regard, it would be individuals who are business owners, restaurant owners, retail owners, someone from the Chamber of Commerce, someone from the Business Alliance, Southampton Business Alliance Group, as well as someone who we would like to entertain having a greater presence in the village, someone from the medical community. There's data out there, it says a med spa and an urgent care clinic drives more foot traffic than almost a cafe does. So as we think about revitalizing our village and also embarking upon even things that we discussed today at length, the aesthetics of the village and making it more friendly and the arts and the cultural activities, I think we should have a group that's focused solely on the village. And a couple people actually liked the idea, and I'm open to, any commentary, obviously, but that also is a very good platform for which the village can garner future grant funding. They really like to hear, not just from the legislators, but they like to hear from the community at large. And I think this would be a great opportunity for us. So that's kind of my spiel for the night. And I just want to say that I have a cold. I'm sitting here not because I don't like the mayor, but because I'm sneezing
And
to
you're
my
supposed
right.
to be wearing that.
And Trustee Parrish gave me this as a little present.
And you should be wearing it.
Anyway. But we do have several other committees, but I do think this would be a very, very nice complement to all of the efforts that we're now pulling together.
It's an essential committee right now.
So should we make a motion to form the committee? Do we have names, or we'll do that later?
Well, we had one name when we were at the Southampton Business Express session, which, by the way, I think was a tremendous success, and a lot of people in that room got together who had never met up, landlords and renters and whatnot. But Shannon Wiley was sitting to my right, and she volunteered to be on the committee. So we have one name.
She'd be excellent.
And
Really excellent.
Gloria Dios, I had spoken to her today, Jesse. I think you
Excellent,
thought she
yeah.
would be a good candidate. And we're open to several others. I think too big is not good,
Right.
but let's see how many people are interested, and we'll go from there.
I know Danielle Candela, who came tonight from Tow Taxi, award-winning recipient from the business competition from a year or two ago.
Right? So there's 3.
So I think that could be enough for a committee. Again, I think it's important to form it, and then if we need to do names, we can do names. Happy to put these 3 people on now. I'll let you take the lead on this one. You tell us.
I think we should have a little broader cross-section to represent a few more areas within the village. I thought it was very good that Morley was here this evening. We've never really heard, his point of view. There were a few other individuals, Kelly and Carolyn. So, but anyway, for those of you who are watching this on tape, please come to the village and let Julie know and any of us know. We'd love to have you on. But you will be put to work, and part of it is working with our grant writer and grant funding too. So there you have it.
All right, so
Just a really quick couple questions that on this one, I put no less than 5, but no more than 9. Do you think that's a good number? Okay.
I looked at a couple other towns, and nobody goes over 9.
Okay, very good. All right. And the other thing that I want to add to this, because I did find some notes that you wrote to me that I'd like to add to the document that's here that talks about facilitating successful growth and revitalization of existing businesses while attracting new business to complement the character of the community. I think that should be added into this document as well.
Thank you.
excellent. All right, so do I hear a motion to form the business task force?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Allen. We now have communications to the board. It's Mr. Gillespie again. All right, this is PSEG FEMA hazard mitigation on Hampton Road.
Yes, we're originally slated to start this project on September 30th at 10 p.m. It'll be this coming Monday. They did call me yesterday at this point and said we want to delay that 1 week. They're having some other projects they're finishing up. But what they want to do, just as they did on Job's Lane, is they want to change the conductors, which are the transmission wires. So on Hampton Road, from Main Street to Little Plains, on the south side of the street, all the existing poles are in place, and they want to pull in new wires and remove the old wires. So the new wires that are coming in are a larger size and better insulated. FEMA is doing this project throughout the island, a little more hurricane preparedness, so we won't lose power in storms as easily. And what this will do is it will knock out all the parking on the south side of Hampton Road from Main Street to Little Plains Road at night only, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. So they'll take up the parking aisle. They may have to adjust the travel lanes using conage. So we'll just shift the travel lanes a little bit to the north. They tell me they'll maintain two-way traffic at all times. And they just told me today also, and I asked Tom, that they are going to have a police officer that they had agreed to pay for to go down there and help with traffic.
Excellent.
Right, so generally, they'll be working throughout the night. There will be construction lights like you would see up on a highway. And as it gets close to the morning, they will pack everything up, and then all the sidewalks will be open, all the parking will be open, et cetera. We got a notice in the mail, which all businesses should have gotten. It does talk about a 2-month period, but FEMA is telling me it's about 4 weeks is what they anticipate.
So the correspondence that you have in your packet is the correspondence we received as a customer of PSEG, not as a municipality. So that's, so that's important to know that that was sent to all of their customers in, I guess, this geographic area.
So this is looking to begin when, I'm sorry?
Now it would be October 7th,
October 7th.
Yeah,
starting at 10 p.m. It's a Monday.
So I got to walk the streets again.
You gotta
I
walk the
went down
streets
there with leaflets and told everybody. But can we put it on the website too, DPW alert?
Yeah,
That'd be great.
we talk. We'll get that out to Julie tomorrow.
We should have to do two.
Everybody was appreciative though about having been communicated that when I walked down, so that was good to know.
And
Thank
what
you for doing that.
Yeah, what you'll see on the flyer, if you've gotten one, it'll say there is a power interruption, but basically as they transfer your service from an old line to a new line, you might be out for an hour or so overnight. That's about it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. The only other thing I would suggest is we did form, I believe we formed and added members to the infrastructure committee, just giving them a quick message, letting them know this is happening, just provide some guidance if they might have some, that could be help, but obviously we're moving forward, so.
Have we met on that?
No, I think what's going to be important is that we get out, obviously we spoke earlier about the surf and water swimming committee earlier, and sending out a notification that we need to get together because of the local law. I think we'll get letters out to all the members of these committees and, and maybe get a feel for time and days that work best for the people who are on that committee for purposes of establishing meeting times.
All right, thanks again, Gary.
All right, I'm done.
Gary, are there plans to replace the poles?
I'm sorry.
Never going anywhere,
Are
Gary.
there plans to replace the poles?
On Hampton Road, yes, on the south side.
Well, that pole work has already been done.
Okay, so Hampton Road's done, no more
Yeah, where you
new
see
poles.
double woods, where you see poles where you have two poles right next to each other, that means a new pole was put in. I believe there are 3 of them. No?
Well, because you dropped me off the packet, and that packet showed all the ones that they took a picture of each one, they had them numbered too.
Well, all the poles that are there currently are the poles that everything is going to be strung on. So there are no more new poles going in that area. Existing poles, when they do it, they may have to adjust the pole 6 inches this way or that way. But it would be nothing like, Job's Lane, where we had so many things going on at once. And the offer of doing all this work at night is a big plus from FEMA. Okay. Is there something else?
I would let the infrastructure committee know that too, because we have a lot of people who are objecting to these large poles.
It's already done, though. This is nothing to object to. This is a FEMA-related project that it's in motion. We can let them know, but there's nothing that is going to be delayed or changed with it.
This is the
Other than
last
that,
section in Southampton Village that has not been hardened.
Pardon me?
All the wires in our business district in Southampton Village are now completed, except for this one stretch, and this is the hospital circuit, so we want to get it done. Ice cream circuit.
I know what you're talking about as far as going underground and all that, but that's a totally different discussion. Remedy with this. Because I asked the guy that when he was in his office. This is something that's already in motion to improve upon what we have, FEMA-related. And I know what you're going there as far as going underground with everything. That's a different discussion.
Yeah, if you want to look at West Hampton, we could go through their motions, but it's a pretty big demolition and big price tag. Can be done.
Infrastructure Committee.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Good night, Gary. Thanks again.
Get out. One more thing for you.
Get out while you can.
Gary, come back.
Can I go with them?
Well, this is Andrew's favorite part, the suggested resolution. So, Russell, please take it away.
Entertain a motion resolved that the reading of the minutes of the special meeting and the public session of September 12, 2019 be dispensed with, and that those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the claims for the warrants dated September 24th, 2019, totaling $475,903.87, warrant number 7 of the general fund, and $95,336.72, warrant number 5, capital reserve fund, be audited and approved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
On to Andrew's favorite part. Alliance System Integrators, $3,273. Service calls to cameras village-wide. Barnwell House of Tires, $2,046.96. Tires for the fire department rescue vehicle and spares for the fleet. Corwitz Auto Body, $1,175. Those are towing charges. Fundamental Business Services, $5,937. That's the August commissions for collection services for Justice Court. Grade A Petroleum, $1,627.74. That's motor oil for the fleet. Mutt Mitt, $1,344.31. That's Mitt refills for the Highway Department. Nelson Pope and Voorhees, $1,305. That's a CEQA review for the Moses Lane project. Nugent and Potter, Inc., $1,178.09. Plumbing supplies. New York State Employees Health Insurance, $357,898.12. That's the October health insurance bill. Optimum, $1,865.02. That's cable and internet service village-wide. Pitney Bowes Postage, $2,400. That's postage machine refill. Rapid Recovery Towing, $1,550. That's towing charges. Shoreline Towing, $1,100 towing charges. Southport Asphalt, $60,997.16. That's paving for Railroad Plaza, which is reimbursable from a CPF grant. Sprague Operating, $5,277. That's 87 octane for the fleet. Suburban Auto Service, $7,708.65. It's MVA collision repair and reimbursable by insurance. Vincent Toomey, $3,300.18. That's outside Labor Council. Town of Southampton, $2,724.60. That's brush disposal. Capital disbursements. Eris Design, $12,500. That's the design work for the Moses Lane capital project. Hirsch & Company, $66,405. That's plumbing for the ambulance barn. Liberty Ironworks, Inc., $1,250. That's Lake Agawam Boardwalk Improvement Capital Project. Rollins Electric, Inc., $6,365. That's electrical for the ambulance. Watermill Building Supply, $8,816.72. That's for the Lake Agawam Boardwalk Improvement Capital Project. There are no questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the renewal of a 36-month lease agreement with Vehicle Tracking Solutions.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, thank you for the quick rundown, Russell. Now for comments from board members.
You wanted to go left to right this time.
Okay, good idea. Trustee Polaro, you can kick it off.
Thank you, Mayor Warren.
Thank you.
Well, I wanted, especially after this weekend and Southampton Fest, wanted to thank all of the village employees for all of their hard work this weekend. It was a fabulous event and really, really wonderful for everyone who attended. My father sat next to people from Oceanside, so far and wide people were coming to the village, and it was great to see. Also want to thank the fire department for their display. I can't tell you how many people came up on their car displays and cutting it and stuff and asking if the Polaro boys had driven those cars. So they did a great job. The rappelling on Sunday was fabulous, and Julie has some great photos of that, and I'm sure they'll be for everyone to see. Also want to thank Chief Cummings and the entire police department. They were on display Saturday, especially with the closure of Job's Lane. I think it was a huge success, and I know many, many people around the village, including Mr. Nordeman, who told me how great it was to see it closed down and have people kind of pedestrianized and walking there. Also want to thank the 15 contestants that participated in the chowder contest. It was very, very well received. And for the second year in a row, Paul's Italian Restaurant was the winner of the contest. So it was great. And I know I certainly ate my share of clam chowder that day. Again, a thank you to the Rotary for hosting Friday night, as well as for their participation throughout it. So that was a fun event. The band was great, and many people danced for hours and long into the evening. Southampton Artists Association had great tents up around the park as well, so it was lovely to see those on display. The Southampton Arts Center, the Kids Zone, as well as the silent disco. There will be a wonderful, wonderful video of Trustee Parrish being put up on social media and his dancing skills. So look for it coming very soon. Last but not least, really want to thank Julie for all the hard work that she had put in for she really deserves a very big, and couldn't have done it without you. It was a huge hit, huge success. In the 9 years, got to be right at the top. The weather cooperated. The wedding the wedding photos were fabulous. The bands, everything really just came together. So hats off and thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Okay. Next is Trustee Parrish.
Gosh, how am I going to follow that up?
Covered it all.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Some dance moves.
Dancing moves, yes.
Julie? You are the gas-powered engine that drives this committee. You are fantastic, and working with you this year, closer than I ever did before. I have to say, it's pretty impressive what you do, and I just want to thank you. And it's truly special to have you really run this committee. Good job. It was really well done this year. You tied up a lot of things at the last minute and made it a huge hit. So glad to be there with you.
Yes, and our committee was amazing.
Yes. Then you got a little TV time right now.
Right away from that.
Thank you, Trustee Parrish. Trustee Yashemsky.
Yes, starting at the end, see, you get everything out.
That's right.
And there's nothing left for anybody to say.
Okay.
But no, you covered it all, and you covered all the departments, which is really the necessary part of that. And Julie, of course, haven't been around since its inception. It's taken on a lot of different forms and variations over the years. And so, from what I saw from both days, and for all three, clearly that has to be the best version of it thus far. So, there's good stuff, and I know, Mark, you've been involved all along the way. Other than that, I'll just say again, I'll thank for people who attended tonight, talking about the public hearing for the surfing and all the other things. That is part of the process. And what you saw tonight actually was, and there was some disagreement of whether to proceed with something, but that's also part of the job, and we're still proceeding. We're going to get it done, and we're going to listen to public input. So, what we saw tonight on it, on that scenario alone, with differences in the public opinion and also in board opinion, that's what excites me about this job. That's what it's about. We're here to publicly disclose our ideas and our thoughts and to move ahead with meaningful legislation for everybody involved. So I thank everybody currently that showed up tonight, and hopefully in advance that will show up more to discuss this.
Thank you, Rich. Trustee Allen.
I would just say Trustee Polaro summarized Southampton Fest beautifully, and thank you so much for mentioning every part of it. I just want to add that David and Simone Levinson should be thanked for hosting Silent Disco. I think that was a nice cap-off to the great weekend that Julie and everybody pulled together on that committee. And then John and Bernice Holden are celebrating their 70th wedding anniversary. John met Bernice when she was walking across the street on Main Street 71 or 2 years ago, I believe. So that's quite a feat, too. Anyway, there you have it. And thank you for approving the Southampton Business Task Force. I'm all excited. That's it.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Well done. Basically, in recap, we had an excellent Southampton Fest, and really we have a special community, and obviously it goes, again, thanks to our police force, our fire, and other groups such as the Rotary, who hosted Friday night as well, so that was phenomenal. So this all came together due to teamwork and great actions from our entire community and everybody involved, so we can't thank everybody enough and reiterate that enough. A few other quick things I just wanted to note. First, obviously with our business legislation and our business task force, I also have been thinking about the Chamber of Commerce and to what extent the village can have a role there if so desired. Now, obviously it's its own private entity, but the village does own the building. And I was thinking about getting more involved, or having our team get more involved with the chamber, just given the fact that we do provide their leading asset, and if we can provide any help to the chamber, I think that would make sense. I'd love to discuss with their board. Maybe the village should have a board seat there. Maybe we can discuss with their leadership some type of transparency around who's on their board. I think there's a lot of really good people on there, but I would like to also include new people. And with our ownership of the building and our communal commitment towards improving the business environment, I think it'd be a great opportunity to have a meeting with the leadership there, potentially with the board there, and just get their take on kind of how it's going and what we can do to help. So I'd love to kind of revisit the chamber as well. Again, wanted to thank the Levinsons for the silent disco. That was phenomenal. We all had a great time there. And then two final quick thoughts. There was a climate change protest around our country today in Southampton Village at Agawam Park. We had some community members there as well, including Christine in our audience who attended, as well as Trustee Allen. And it just goes without saying how important this is. And to help raise awareness, and then as a government officials, we have the opportunity, even on a local level, to take immediate action. And I think our role here, as even in the most local level of government, we have the opportunity to set the agenda and set lead by example for the rest of the entire country. So we should use our platform here in order to do so. And then lastly, Rich, you're right. I was thinking about this as well. Tonight was what government's all about. We obviously had our own opinions. At the end of the day, the goal is to build consensus and to work together. Emotions do run high. Obviously, we have our own opinions. But the goal, I think everyone here ran on platforms of bringing community together. And so I think it's really important to stick to our platform and our desired goal of working together. I know everyone likes to say, I could work with everybody, and then it's easier said than done. And so I think we all need to take a step back, and I think we need to revisit that, because that's exactly what we should do as far as building consensus and working together as a team. So with that, I'm willing to close. We do have a second public comment. I'm not sure if anyone is interested. Okay, I knew it. I knew that you want to close us down here. Thank you. Thank you for staying.
It's Christine. I just wanted to say, if you'd all just, in light of all this, think of no idling. I'd mentioned some meetings ago that I think the village of Patchogue had done something in their government buildings about it, but whether it were possible to have a limit on the amount of time people can idle, because at the beaches, Little Plains, there's a no idling sign, whether anybody enforces it, but at least it makes people think.
Christine, you're absolutely right. We have 9 complaints, and out of those 9 complaints that I've been tracking, no idling is right up there. And as soon as this meeting ends, Mr. Parrish is getting this list because he runs DPW, and he's going to get the no idling sign request for Main Street, because a lot of people come here and they just sit in their cars and they idle.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Great comment.
More signs.
Okay, at this point, if there's, Joe McLaughlin? Okay, thank you. Chief Cummings?
Thank you.
Okay. We'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing specific village personnel matters.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.